What's up, everybody? UFC Freedom 250 is officially in the books. And I think that it's pretty safe to say that this was a generational fight card. Obviously a historic one at the White House. This was an electric event, right? The way the UFC was promoting it, the UFC was really back for this card now, right? All over social media, the trailers, the promos, the ceremonial weigh-ins were absolutely sick. And it just felt like we were going to be in for a very, very special night of fights, and that's exactly what happened. All 7 fights end by way of stoppage, and all finishes fight card. Absolutely sensational, man. So we had a little bit of everything on this card. We had a massive shocker to me in the main event as Justin Gaethje really put on a clinic against who I have been saying is the best boxer that we have ever seen in mixed martial arts in Ilia Topuria. We have so much to discuss, man. I really, really enjoyed this entire card. Action-packed, some great performances. Without further ado, let's rock and roll right into this thing, man, because the main event, the most shocking thing to me on the entire card. And the interesting thing is on the posts tab here on YouTube, right? I had tweeted it out. I put it on YouTube here a little while before the event. I was saying, I just have this feeling that some of the things that we just think are going to happen might not happen on this card. And as we started to get closer to fight night, I'm like, man, I just know something that like we're almost not necessarily expecting is going to happen on this card. Like at least one fight, right? And the first fight goes by, right? Diego Lopes, Garcia, okay. And as we're going throughout the night, I was like, maybe it's going to be Derrick Lewis lands that big old right hand and knocks out Josh Hokit's able to fluke him. And maybe it's going to be Zahabi putting on a clinic against O'Malley. And I'm like going through all of these different things. And as nothing that shocking to me happened and we roll up on the main event, my stomach sank, dude. I'm like, Ilia Topuria is about to lose this fight. As they're doing the introductions, Gaethje is walking out and I'm like, I think Gaethje is going to win the fight. And I know that before these big fights happen, especially when we got a big underdog, you almost start to doubt your pick. Like that's normal in the fight game, I feel like, right? At least for me, I'm like, man, did I miss something here? Like it just feels like I have a pick. I feel confident, but it just feels like what can go wrong will go wrong. And what I have to say about this main event is the fighter of the year has to be Justin Gaethje, in my opinion. And the coach of the year, that award, you can just hand it over to Trevor Whitman. Because what we saw was obviously, like I said, a generational type of fight card. This was a generational performance by Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje went out there and outboxed the guy that I thought was the best boxer that we had seen in the history of the sport. And there's people out there that they were slick. They saw some things that maybe we didn't see, maybe some things that we ignored. And there were people that picked Justin Gaethje to win this fight. But a lot of the folks out there that I was hearing, right, especially on the Deep Waters podcast with Masvidal and Poirier and Chris Weidman, a lot of guys were talking about Gaethje had to make it dirty, make it a hockey fight, which we knew that was element number one, right? Don't necessarily have a technical back and forth boxing match with a guy like Ilia Topuria, right? That was kind of a big focal point, but the biggest one was kicks. Gaethje's just going to kick. He's going to kick the bleeding leg off of Ilia Topuria, right? He's going to come out here and, swing those baseball bats at the legs of Ilia, batter his lead leg, hinder his movement, try to land a high kick like Jai Herbert. And that is not what happened. Justin Gaethje barely threw any kicks that I can remember in this fight. I mean, he threw up a couple high kicks in there that really no cigar there. Justin Gaethje literally outboxed Ilia Topuria. Out-techniqued Ilia Topuria. Outsmarted him. Picked him apart and beat him at his own game. And the way that the fight got started, Gaethje immediately on the jab. Stinging with the jab. Kind of waving his hands out there and would just kind of step in and boom, sting Ilia with the jab. And one of the stories I feel like of this entire fight card for a lot of these fights, the guys that, we had a ton of high-level strikers, which is why I was saying I was so excited for this card. Obviously at the White House, big matchups, loaded card. Some of the best strikers in the entire sport all on this card. And one of the weapons of choice from all those guys was what? A popping piston of a jab. And Justin Gaethje was the leader of that tonight. I mean, stinging up the face of Ilia Topuria. Cut him early in the fight. And we see this all the time in boxing, right? Sean Strickland, I've been saying, that's the best jab in the sport. You can bust up the face of your opponent, affect the breathing, swell the lips, bust up around their eyes, make it hard for them to see. And it just felt like everything was going wrong for Ilia Topuria in round one, right? Had some moments later in the round. Gaethje was getting ahead. This was just such a, I'm just blown away at Gaethje's performance, man. Like, the dude's in his upper 30s. I mean, how good is Khabib Nurmagomedov, by the way? And his resume has just aged incredible, obviously, right? The most dominant fighter, basically, of all time. I mean, Justin Gaethje's, it just has to be, what is happening, man? Like, the amount of upsets and the craziness that we have seen this year in MMA, and the year's, halfway over? We still have several months left in 2026, and it just feels like the things that we feel so certain that are probably going to happen just don't happen. It's the best sport in the world, man. Justin Gaethje had the perfect game plan for Ilia Topuria. Pop him with the jab, counter him with the right hand over the top, throw the uppercut, dirty box a little, make it dirty, but then get out into space, utilize your height, utilize a slight reach advantage that Gaethje had, and Gaethje looked a little bit longer, and he looked quite a bit bigger than Ilia in there to me. It's just a masterful performance by Justin Gaethje, a guy that I had said before, he starts off sometimes guns blazing, getting a little too, swinging heavy, getting himself out of position. There was none of that from Justin in this fight. None of that from Justin in this fight. He fought very tactical, very patient, very methodical. Got to give all the credit in the world to Justin Gaethje, man. I am blown away by his performance. I didn't expect that. And I feel like a lot of the people that were expecting Gaethje, you were thinking, well, he'll just destroy the legs of Ilia, then maybe Ilia can't move, and Gaethje lands a head kick or an uppercut and puts Ilia away. I feel like that's how a lot of us were thinking, if Gaethje wins, that's the path. Not to go out there and just outclass Ilia with the striking. And listen, I know that Ilia had moments, right? Especially at the end of the first round, Ilia started to kind of turn it on a little bit. We saw some success with the grappling throughout this fight. Ilia in round two had a real, I believe it was round two, had a really good round, almost put Gaethje away, landed nasty shots to the body. It sounded like sledgehammers rattling off the body of Gaethje, and I'm like, you're just hearing thwack, thwack, right? You could hear all the shots, which was actually really cool. The microphones or whatever from that close quarter environment, you could hear all of the shots ricocheting in this fight, man. It was crazy. Ripping to the body of Gaethje, and I'm like, there's that Ilia liver shot, man, and it looked like Gaethje was wincing, right, kind of curling up along the fence, kind of bouncing around, rolling off the fence, and I'm like, Ilia's about to put him away in round two. Gaethje finds a way to survive, right? Ilia Topuria chooses to grapple, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if Ilia keeps it on the feet and gets back to range where he can then get back to the boxing and dig to the body of Gaethje, bring some shots around the guard, does he get him out of there? We don't know for sure. But it felt like Ilia Topuria was en route to getting the KO over Gaethje in round two, right? After a little bit of a disastrous first round, started to figure some things out as the round played out. This, to me, was Ilia Topuria, a guy who has the aura, has the confidence, has the swag, right? The greatest 3-fight win streak of all time, KOing the featherweight GOAT in Volkanovski. The second greatest featherweight of all time in Max Holloway, who stunned it on Justin Gaethje, who's been absolutely spectacular, pretty much outside of getting dominated by Oliveira in the grappling at 55. And then sleeping Charles Oliveira in the first round after defending the takedown. And then to go out here and Justin Gaethje's the one who beats the brakes off of him. There were moments of competitiveness. Don't get me wrong. Ilia Topuria, especially in the second round, Ilia had his moments. He had Gaethje on the ropes in round two. But outside of that, man, Justin Gaethje worked Ilia, man. Beat him up. And Justin Gaethje, in my opinion, this fight just basically confirmed what a lot of us already we know that Gaethje just causes chaos in there, right? He creates a tremendous amount of damage. But Justin Gaethje is the greatest damage creator in the history of the sport. There's nobody that creates damage like Justin Gaethje. Think about every fight that Gaethje's been in. It looks like the other guy got in a car wreck. Whether you win or lose, Gaethje hurts his opposition in basically every single fight. I'm so blown away at Gaethje's performance, man. He basically, and he knew that coming in. I basically got to be perfect. I got to do this. I got to do that. And he did all of those things. He did all those things. Battled adversity in round 2. Ilia Topuria, right? It felt like he was kind of after those first 2 rounds. It felt like, you heard him coming in. He's like, I got to come in here. I'm going to knock out Justin Gaethje. I'm going to put it on him. And I thought Ilia Topuria was going to make it look easy. I thought Ilia Topuria was going to go out here and march down Justin Gaethje. Gaethje would look to slug because we know that Gaethje can get a little bit, out of his little game plan early. We've seen that where he's over swinging like against Charles Oliveira, getting himself out of position. And those are going to be moments that if he does that, like we saw in the Pimblett fight, that's where Ilia can sharpshoot him, catch him, and put him away. And I feel like when Ilia was not able to put him away after the second round went by, you just felt this huge energy and tide change. That's at least the way that I felt. I'm like, this is not already coming in. The first round, I'm like, this is kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, man, I can feel the energy. I feel like Gaethje's going to pull off the upset. Then Ilia comes back, and I'm like, wait a minute, Ilia's going to figure it out. And then I saw Ilia deep breathing. I saw Gaethje breathing a little bit, but Gaethje's been here before. He's been in these wars with crafty, veteran, high-level, dangerous fighters. Not that, we've seen Ilia in there with some high-level guys, but Gaethje's been in these big moments. He's been in there in these 25-minute fights with these just absolute dynamic savages with the striking. And it just felt like Ilia Topuria did not get that early KO. And as Gaethje was saying coming into this fight, what happens if Ilia, who felt like was putting a lot of pressure on himself to get that early finish, what if he doesn't? And Gaethje's hanging around. Gaethje was right. Gaethje was absolutely right, man. And I thought that this fight should have been stopped after the third round. I don't know what was going on there. It's like the doctor came in and it looked like he said, no, that we're done here. And then Goddard steps in and then all of a sudden they're continuing. And listen, man, I'm a huge fan of Ilia Topuria. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I've said that I really like Justin Gaethje as well. I thought that this was a disastrous matchup for him. I was dead wrong. I feel like this is one of those fights that could potentially alter the career of Ilia Topuria. He took so much damage in this fight, man. Like Gaethje literally, like outside of Ilia having a really good second round and having some moments here and there with the grappling and had Gaethje in some bad positions, Ilia was looking like he was going for a sub and some ground and pound, all this stuff. Outside of that, Gaethje fought so good, dude. The way that he threw that jab, it was just stinging him, and then waited, hesitated, froze, and then boom, sniped him with a right hand right down the pipe, rocked Ilia badly, landing those uppercuts. And how durable is Ilia Topuria, man? People are clowning on Ilia, and I get that Gaethje pulled off the big upset here, but Ilia Topuria is a dog, dude. So is Justin Gaethje. We've all known that, but Ilia Topuria can take a shot, man. Like, Gaethje's wrecked people with the shots that he was landing in this fight. And just the ability of Gaethje to create these head-on collisions, which we've known him for throughout his entire career, but to add that technical twist on it that we have seen, especially over his, towards the later part of his career, is just spectacular. And it's just basically at this point in MMA, I'm basically like, question everything. That's how it feels, man. Like at one point, it felt like when we're predicting fights, it's like we feel like it's going to go this way, and a lot of the time it goes that way, right? It feels like the writing's on the wall. Everyone kind of has a good read on it. Maybe there's a prediction here and there to where like, whoa, you just saw something that other people didn't see coming. But basically, a lot of us felt Ilia was just going to mow through Gaethje because it felt that way. It's like you knock out Volk, Holloway, Oliveira and Holloway both basically dismantle Gaethje. So it's like, MMA math for you, man. And this is the perfect example of styles make fights. And I feel like Gaethje just rose to the occasion, came in with a beautiful game plan. And as I've been saying for many, many years, Trevor Wittman, one of the best coaches of all time. And a thing that I did mention, now I did say this, I felt like Trevor Wittman was really getting up for this one because Trevor Wittman's a boxing-based guy. He knows Ilia is basically a boxer in MMA, so he was really in the lab with the little clicker going, man, I see this tendency, because that's what I saw was a well-formulated game plan. Justin Gaethje, a guy that was super prepared, dialed in, and I think Gaethje's approach was, I'm going to jab him. When he starts to look for the big KO shot, because Ilia's been talking about he wants to knock me out and get that highlight and all this and that, I'm going to shoot a takedown, which he did a few times, land some good dirty boxing combos in there, stay rangy with the jab, fire off the right hand, mix in a head kick here and there, target the body here and there, but create these little like crashes here and there. He's just boom. When Ilia's moving forward with that momentum, boom, car wreck. Uppercut, elbow, knee. And that's exactly what Gaethje did. He stayed in that outside range, in the clinch type of range, and not too much from what I remember in that kind of boxing-based range, which is kind of what he got stuck in round 2 to where Ilia was able to capitalize. And then I feel like Trevor Whitman, I couldn't hear the corner work, but I feel like Trevor Whitman was probably like, hey, man, we got to get back to kind of doing what we were doing. And it's exactly what Gaethje did, and you could just see the tides turn, man. Ilia Topuria, to me, he got broken down by Justin Gaethje in this fight. This was a methodical, meticulous beat down by Justin Gaethje, and honestly, one of the most spectacular performances I've ever seen, man. And like, so Paddy Pimblett, like how good, that now it's like, well, how good is Paddy? Because this sport is crazy, man. So like, how good is Paddy? Like, because it's like, well, people are like, well, Paddy, he's not really that good, and, you know, Gaethje was kind of sloppy, but Paddy looked okay against Gaethje, it turns out. Right, he did a little bit better than Ilia in the sense. Now, granted, you know, Gaethje was able to stop Ilia in this fight, right? The cuts, the damage, it was just adding up, and Ilia did almost find a way to put Gaethje away, which Paddy didn't necessarily do, but Paddy had a ton of moments against Gaethje. Like, dude, this game is crazy, man. Absolutely crazy, but this, to me, was Ilia Topuria, a guy that was very confident in his skills, which he had every right to be coming into this fight for the resume that he's putting together, his skills, his confidence, and the way he trains, and came out here with the idea of, I'm going to mow through Justin Gaethje. And when that didn't work, you just kind of saw this, Gaethje's not going away. I'm cracking him with these massive shots that have put other people away. And Gaethje had like some, I don't know, man. He had like a force field around him in this fight. Gaethje was not going down, man. Like, Gaethje was not going down. Those body shots were nasty. They've put a lot of people away. Some of the big shots that Ilia was landing. Gaethje was just destined to win this fight the way he fought, man. It was just inspiring stuff from Justin Gaethje. I'm happy for Gaethje to get the job done. Obviously, yes, I was dead wrong thinking that Ilia would go out here and knock out Gaethje and put on a clinic and all those kinds of things. It turns out Gaethje fought a brilliant game plan and was able to put on a clinic himself. And this was an entertaining fight, man. But make no mistake about it, Gaethje was in control. He did a ton of damage. And, man, that was kind of hard to watch, being a huge Ilia fan. I'm a big fan of Gaethje as well. But, man, Ilia, I was like, man, Ilia getting through Gaethje. Then we got the big Arman fight. Maybe he goes up and fights Islam. Now it's like, where does it leave us, man? Because Ilia was already a guy that, you know, he fought at 298 to beat Volk, 308 to beat Holloway, 317 to beat Oliveira, and now he fights here, and it's like he was away for basically a year since the Oliveira fight after KOing him in round 1, and now you take all this damage? Like, I imagine it's going to be a while before we see Ilia Topuria. When your aura is built off of knocking people out, all this confidence, having these, you know, celebrations like you won before the fight even happens, the roses and all this stuff. This was a big piece of humble pie for Ilia Topuria, man. So it was tough to see Ilia Topuria get banged up like that. You know, I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of Gaethje. Gaethje's an absolute savage, and Gaethje coming out here and delivering, I'd say probably the best performance of his career, considering how good Ilia Topuria is. And Ilia Topuria's defense, you know, I know people were kind of ripping on it before. We've seen moments like against Josh Emmett, Volk with the head movement against Holloway. There was not much defense from Ilia in this fight, man. He was not moving his head. He wasn't rolling with shots. There was not a whole lot of slipping going on. I know he was looking to try to counter the jab of Gaethje with the right hand. You know, he was looking for some of those shots. And Gaethje was doing a pretty good job of not bobbing and dipping under all the time. When he did, he was kind of out of range to avoid those big uppercuts that Ilia has. So, to me, Ilia looked a little bit stuck in the mud out there, right? Couldn't get the early KO, not a lot of defense, didn't have much respect for Gaethje, which I told you guys, he wasn't going to have a lot of respect for Gaethje. And that's why I'm like, maybe he's crazy enough to go out there and just put him away early, because that's what Ilia's been doing. But Justin Gaethje said, yeah, watch this, dog. I've been in here. I've been in the fight game for a long time, fighting the best guys in the world. I got a ton of experience. I've seen it all. I've done it all. And you coming after me, showing me no respect, I'm going to have to gain your respect real quick, bust you up. And whenever that happens early in the fight, like that's how, you know, people are like, well, Strickland only jabs and teeps. But look at what he's able to do when he gets the jab firing. How it's just able to mess you up completely. That is the importance of an educated piston of a jab. Gaethje controlled the fight with the jab, got the uppercuts going, was able to mix in all the other aspects of his game, the level changes to then get close to Ilia because Ilia's shorter and he just kind of, you could crash into him, and that's where Gaethje was landing those shots. This was a beautiful performance by Gaethje, man. And I'm Obviously, I like grappling, but for me, there's something special about high-level striking. There's something special about seeing these guys go out there, playing chess and who's going to make a wrong move and the other guy can capitalize, who can set up who. That's exactly what this fight was. And not only did Justin Gaethje, outdog Ilia Topuria and break him down and batter him, but he outsmarted and out-technicality'd Ilia Topuria, man. What a timeline that we are living in, and I very much underrated Gaethje coming into this fight, and I've picked Gaethje in a ton of fights throughout his career, right? I just feel like we underestimated him coming into the Paddy fight. I didn't underestimate him in that fight. I just felt like Paddy's grappling could potentially be an issue. Was no issue at all, but I knew on the feet, Gaethje, if that's where it takes place, Gaethje would win. I thought in this fight, Ilia is better on the ground and on the feet. So I was like, Gaethje feels like he screwed at all angles. So, was wrong. I have no problem admitting I was wrong, man. I'm a fight fan first. So, got to pick wrong. And some humble pie from me as well, man. Yeah. Some humble pie from me. I'll take it, man. I'll take it. So, listen, I enjoyed this card, man. This fight was sensational. I'm probably going to watch it again tonight just to reminisce because this was a crazy fight, man. Great back and forth, a war. Shout out to both of these guys. Gaethje, the better man on the night, getting the job done. And really, where does Gaethje go from here? Is he going to decide to hang him up? I mean, when you put on a great performance like that, even if you kind of had that extra motivation of being like, this is the last one. I don't know if that's the case, but Gaethje might have had that mindset of, if he lost this fight, I feel like Gaethje might have retired. But now that he won, I feel like Gaethje's like, hey, man, I'm feeling good. I just put on a great performance. I took out a guy who is one of the most skilled fighters of all time. I was saying Ilia Topuria is one of the most skilled guys of all time. And Gaethje goes out there and does that. Styles make fights. Him versus Aiemann Tsarukyan becomes a lot more intriguing. I think if you asked people a few months ago how that fight would go, people would be like, Aiemann would run him over. And it's like, man, I know we saw him in some bad positions on the ground against Ilia to where if that's Aiemann, you're like, what happens there? But on the feet, Gaethje, I think, could find a way to get to Aiemann Tsarukyan, and that'd be a big fight. I'll be curious to see what the UFC does. Maybe Gaethje waits to see what happens with Holloway-McGregor, right? If McGregor wins, you get the big payday there. I don't know if McGregor can make 55, but Gaethje put himself in a big position to go out there at the White House. We get an American that goes out there, gets the job done. I'm happy for Justin Gaethje to be able to pull it off, man. I really didn't think he was going to do it. I felt pretty confident Ilia was going to be able to go out there and find a way to stop Justin Gaethje. Amazing performance by Justin, man. I don't know what else to say. I'm just blown away at what Gaethje was able to do. It was kind of a striking masterclass in a way. I was blown away by what I was seeing. Broke Ilia down. Obviously, Ilia goes to the stool, doesn't come out for the 5th round. We saw the scorecards. I think the judges all across the board only gave him the 2nd round, so he was going to need a finish. I know he was kind of battling back into the fight, not giving up on himself, landing some good shots. I think that there was a chance that Gaethje would have put him out in round number 5. So, at the end of the day, I feel like Ilia took a ton of damage because I feel like that could have been stopped after the 3rd round. This could potentially be one of those fights where Ilia, who knows if he's the same guy coming back, man, from that kind of damage and the confidence hit that he may take from this one. So, great performance from Gaethje. This was a banger fight, man. Co-main event. The heavyweight interim title was on the line. Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. Now, I thought Alex was going to win, right? I thought he was going to find a way to eventually knock out Ciryl Gane later in the fight, but I had been saying that it's not going to be easy, and I wouldn't be surprised if Gane wins. This, to me, was a competitive fight regardless of who you thought was going to win, and the first round was competitive, right? Obviously, Gane was a step ahead, and again, the story of the night with these high-level strikers, the jab. Ciryl Gane stayed in that southpaw stance, which I anticipated he would do because if he went orthodox, that opens up that powerful rear leg calf kick for Pereira, which is one of his best weapons. So Gane staying southpaw. And look, Alex, when we were seeing these guys face off, it's like Alex has got the height, he looks big. And then when they got in there, I'm like, oh, Ciryl Gane looks way bigger than Alex Pereira. At least he did to me under the bright lights. And this was another one where I was coming into the fight. We got to fight night, and I'm like, I'm worried for Alex, man, because Gane looked huge in there. He looked big, and I know we know Gane is obviously a big guy, but Alex, to me, when they were in there for fight night, obviously Alex with the range and, the reach and the height and all those kinds of things, like he kind of can compete in the heavyweight division as far as that, but the frame, Gane looked a lot more stout to me than Alex under the bright lights. But really, Ciryl Gane he's just a phenomenal athlete, man. A phenomenal striker, and a phenomenal fighter, and a guy that has just gotten so much better, throughout his career, right? Obviously, only losing to John Jones, Francis Ngannou in a super competitive fight. Ciryl Gane is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And honestly, where my head is at right now, I think that we were seeing the beginning of the undoing of Tom Aspinall in that fight against Ciryl Gane, man. Like, I feel like this fight gave us some answers. Now, I get it. Alex dared to be great, fought at middleweight, 205, moving up to heavyweight. It's a massive jump. But Alex has the skills. I've been saying for years, he has the skills to go up there, and I think that he can still beat a ton of heavyweights, man. But Ciryl Gane is just special. He's special, and it turns out I was saying Alex is going to go fishing and walk Gane into traps. Gane was walking him into traps left and right. Gane was mixing up the targets so well. He was, how he kind of dances around with the jab and boom, just flicks it out there. Right? And that power jab on the way in, right? It was kind of like how, was it Mirzakhanov dropped Alexander Rakic? That's kind of what it reminded me of. That sat Alex down, hurt him badly. I thought the fight was going to get stopped. The ref let it go a little bit longer, which I didn't hate, right? Obviously, the stakes, Alex going for triple champ status. You don't want to kind of have a weird stoppage to where then if Gane gets it, people are like, oh, it was a bad stoppage, and Alex could have. We had clarity on it. Yes, back of the head shots once again by Gane, right? He's Mr. Eye Poke, Mr. Back of the Head. But at the end of the day, Alex, to me, was getting stopped regardless, man. Ciryl Gane, chopping at the legs of Alex, mixing the shots to the body. And what I loved from Gane in this fight was it really wasn't like he was necessarily committing to the takedowns, but that he was throwing them out there, and Alex did a great job of just shucking them off, which was impressive. But I don't know that Gane was really committing to him, just to put it in the mind of Alex to make him a little bit less volume to where Gane could control the pace of the fight, stick and move, pop at him, and then eventually walk him into some big shots, was able to land some big shots around the guard. This was a great performance by Gane, man. And it was one of those things where, like I said, I think Alex can compete with a lot of these heavyweights. It's just we're seeing Ciryl Gane really is on a different level, man. On a different level. And Aspinall, I know, was doing pretty good in the first round, but Gane is a guy that he's starting to believe in himself, man. He really is, and you saw in the Aspinall fight when he was stuffing the takedowns and busting him up with the jab and sticking and moving, and I know Tom was having some moments. We, of course, don't know how the fight ends up, going because it was stopped because of the eye poke. We understand all that, but that's the fight that needs to happen. That's the fight that absolutely needs to happen. So at the end of the day, this was a sensational performance by Ciryl Gane. I'm not surprised that he was able to get this one done. A little bit surprised at how early he KO'd him, right? I was like, if Gane could win, probably would outpoint Alex, win a decision, maybe find a late TKO stoppage, but to go out there and knock him out that early, and Alex had the coolest walkout, man. That was one of the coolest walkouts of all time, right? Coming up at, that was cool, man. Very, very, very cool. Alex dared to be great. Now he's going to probably go back down to 205. And listen, man, you got Ankalaev hanging around. They're one apiece. Carlos Ulberg, who's looking like just a straight-up striking assassin who's got a ton of speed. And so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think an Ulberg fight would be easy for Alex Pereira, but maybe, the timeline of Pereira taking some time away. I know he's a little bit older still. What is he, 38? So kind of the time is now, but he just got KO'd. Or kind of has to reel it back in. Ulberg's got to get healthy. I feel like that's a fight that we could potentially see in the near future, which I think is a little bit of a scary one for Poatan, considering how dangerous and fast Ulberg is, and especially Pereira coming off of a KO loss to Ciryl Gane. So Gane's just that good, man. Sensational performance. He's fast as heck. His power, we've said, I was like, he doesn't really have crazy power as a heavyweight, but obviously every heavyweight has power. He just doesn't always commit and sit on a bunch of shots. He was doing that in this fight. I feel like Gane made it a point of, I'm the real heavyweight here. Don't forget that you used to be a middleweight, and I'm going to show you what heavyweight power really is. And I was saying, man, don't be surprised if Gane is much faster than Alex, and that's kind of what we saw. Alex had no success with the hands. Right? Was trying to jab to the body. We didn't even see a single left hook, right? And it was a decent first round for Alex. Landed a couple good shots. I think a right hand or two at the end of the first round. But it was really Gane just a step ahead with the speed. Alex landed a couple calf kicks. Those high kicks were nasty, right? We were seeing the pad work of Alex during fight week, and I'm like, he's going to be looking for that, that high kick, right? We saw it a couple times, and it was fast, man. And I'm like, could you imagine if he knocks out Gane with a head kick? But Gane was ready for it. Gane's defense is good. This dude is just, we've never seen anything like Gane at heavyweight. Never seen anything like Gane at heavyweight. And look, Alex was throwing up those head kicks. It was like that open stance battle because Gane will probably be southpaw the whole time, not wanting to play with the calf kicks. Alex was snapping that head kick up there. Gane was mixing up the shots very well, walking Alex in the traps, was able to hurt him and get him out of there. And again, If you're struggling with the range like Alex was, you're landing kicks, you can't get your hands going, and you try to move forward and get into the phone booth and play that game like you play at middleweight and 205, even though those guys have power there, obviously at heavyweight, going to be a very different ball game. So I'd like to see Alex go back to 205. Maybe I feel like that's probably what he'll do next. Gane, him and Aspinall, they have unfinished business. And where my head is at right now, I think Ciryl Gane was a guy that was massively overlooked for a while. And now we're just like, hey, man, Ciryl Gane really is that dude. Really is that dude. So it felt like almost with the main event, right? How a lot of us felt like Ilia was just going to kind of run through Gaethje, and that's kind of how, and then Ilia was maybe buying into some of that as well. And then with Aspinall, same thing with Gane, and then Aspinall's like, oh man, this isn't going to be an easy fight. So Gane's legit, man. Goes out there, generational performance against Alex Pereira. I couldn't wait for this fight. Knew that was a possibility anytime you got heavy hitters in there. Even though Gane doesn't always sit on a bunch of shots, he's a heavyweight. Of course, he has power if he lands flush. Great performance by Ciryl Gane. And Alex dared to be great, man. It is what it is. Going up to heavyweight, guy that was a middleweight at one point. It was a tough ask. I thought he was capable of doing it. I thought he could get it done. I was wrong. Ciryl Gane gets the job done. Amazing performance by Gane, man. And those are the two fights I got wrong, right? Outside of the main and co-main event, we got everything else right on this card. Sean O'Malley versus Aiemann Zahabi. I picked Sean O'Malley to get a second-round knockout, and that's what we saw in this fight. And look, it was pretty much how I saw this fight going. Aiemann Zahabi was probably, I didn't know if he would look to grapple. I thought that he should have, right? But not to say that he would be able to take down O'Malley, because just because O'Malley gets taken down by guys like Jan and Merab doesn't mean that his takedown defense is abysmal, right? Because those guys are really good grapplers. And Zahabi's not the greatest of grapplers, right? He's durable, he's got cardio, and we knew he was going to go after the legs of Sean O'Malley. Outside of spamming a bunch of leg kicks, which O'Malley's going to have to tighten that up, especially if he's going to fight Petr Yan again. And, that's obviously the biggest weakness I'd say in O'Malley's game is, yes, the grappling against some of the more high-level guys in the division, but when guys go after his legs, right? He's got those toothpick legs. But at the end of the day, man, outside of the leg kicks, Sean O'Malley was piecing up Aiemann. And the reality is I think Aiemann Zahabi's a dog, right? Ariel Helwani, right, as an absolute savage, right? He had a good game plan. We knew he would, right? Working with George St. Pierre, his brother Firas Zahabi, who's an amazing coach. And they had a good game plan. Don't overextend. Don't get out of position. You could see Sean kind of skating back, trying to slide him right into a pull counter right hand. Zahabi was very aware of that. So he had a good game plan. Butcher the legs of O'Malley, try to drag this fight out, take away some of the movement and some of those countering abilities, and then be able to kind of maybe win a decision or find some sort of late stoppage. So Zahabi had the right game plan. I just figured it was going to be O'Malley's speed and technicalities on the feet. And I feel like a lot of people forget, man, Sean O'Malley is one of the most elite strikers in the UFC. And him and Petr Yan are the best strikers in this weight class, in my opinion, by far. I mean, Sean O'Malley is special, dude. And then to get the walk-off style KO, the salute, the whole nine, I mean, this was a big moment for O'Malley, and he needed this. It had been a while since we've seen an O'Malley KO, right? I think it was since the Aljo fight, which was a crazy KO, right? But this one, Aiemann Zahabi, a guy that was on a crazy win streak, known for his durability, taking some massive shots, battling back into fights, winning rounds after getting hurt badly, and Sean O'Malley puts him away, lands a big right hand, steps through 1-2. This is a great performance by O'Malley, man. A great performance. Was getting a little bit worried by how many leg kicks he was taking, but I didn't doubt Sean O'Malley winning this fight. I was doubting whether he was actually going to get the KO or not, but great performance by Sean O'Malley. The footwork, he was aggressive, pushing the pace, staying at range, not getting too frustrated by the leg kicks of Zahabi, but something he's going to have to tighten up, because I would love to see O'Malley versus Yan too in a 5-rounder for the belt. I mean, I feel like I don't know who in the world wouldn't want to see that, right? The first fight, the two best strikers, in my opinion, in the weight class, both very different striking styles, right? The first fight was super close. People thought Yan won. People thought O'Malley won. O'Malley did get the job done on the scorecards, but it was a crazy close fight. A crazy close fight. O'Malley rocked Yan. Yan rocked him. Like, Yan was going for takedowns. O'Malley was stinging him up on the feet. So both guys have gotten a lot better since then. I would love to see the rematch, but it's tricky, right? Because Merab has absolutely earned the trilogy, but you run the risk of, if Yan doesn't beat Merab in the trilogy, well, then you kind of ruin essentially an O'Malley versus Yan rematch, which you could still do it, but with the belt on the line, That's what makes it quite a bit bigger. And you can't tell me that you wouldn't want to see O'Malley versus Jan 2 right now, man, in a 5-round fight. So I feel like the UFC, they may choose business over merit in that realm. And in this case, of course, I feel like Merab should get it based on merit. Obviously, the work he put in, defending the belt numerous times, being super active, respect the heck out of Merab. But the reality is, it's a business at the end of the day. And I very much could see the UFC doing O'Malley versus Jan 2 because of how special of a fight and how fun that would be. But he's got to figure it out with the leg kicks, man, because Jan's leg kicks and body kicks, much nastier than Aiemann Zahabi, obviously. So happy Zahabi got a big spot here, but this was a bad matchup for him and a showcase opportunity for O'Malley. O'Malley delivered. Josh Hokit, Derrick Lewis. Like I said, coming in, man, I was seeing Derrick Lewis at the ceremonial weigh-ins, and I'm like, man, Trump asking him to be on the card, and I'm like, Derrick looks like he's in decent shape, and I feel like D-Lou's going to come in motivated, right? Looking for that big shot, and he was. But he was kind of hoping and praying and firing, and Josh Hokit was nowhere to be found. Josh Hokit, I've been saying it for a while about this guy, right? We picked him to knock out Derrick Lewis. I said it would be late first round, but it ended up going into the second, right? Hokit had that arm bar, but he didn't have it in right, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go to a second round here. To be a dual sport athlete at Fresno State, to play running back / fullback, to be a wrestler, right? To go at least on a practice squad in the NFL, like you got to be a special kind of athlete, man. And to me, Hokit's almost like a guy that he could realistically cut weight and fight at like 205 or something. Like he's not the biggest heavyweight in the world. And the advantage that he has though at heavyweight is he's so fast and he's so well-rounded. And for a guy that coming into this, what do you have, 9 pro fights? The amount of confidence and swag that Josh has, and it's impressive, and how calm he is, man. I feel like that's something nobody's talking about. I'm just kind of thinking about that, and I was thinking about it last night. This dude didn't even have 10 fights and professionally. And I know he played football and has been in these big moments, but you're in the fight game. He walked at Curtis Blades with no respect. The biggest moment of his career, this massive jump up in competition, he didn't care. Walked right at him and was just putting it on him. Walked right at Derrick Lewis and was being cautious early, which was very smart. Little oblique, kicks, a Jackson Wink special, picking at him with the jab. Again, the jab, right? O'Malley was fighting behind the jab. Josh Hokit, boom, 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 picking him with the jab, landing the right hand, and we just knew it was a matter of time. Now, Derrick hung in there a little bit more than what we normally see, where he just kind of flops and melts and kind of folds. He had a little bit more fight in him, which I expected it, at the White House. D-Lou wasn't going to go out too bad. But this was a beatdown by Josh Hokit. And one that I feel like a lot of us expected outside of Lou, D-Lou landing some big old uppercut or a big right hand. And he threw some big missiles now. They were whistling, but Hokit, too fast. This dude reminds me of like a Cain Velasquez style of fighter, right? And I know a lot of people have been saying that since Hokit's came into the UFC because of how athletic he is. He throws punches and bunches. He has power. Obviously, he's a heavy hitter, but not like when you think of heavyweight like a Lewis with a crazy one-shot knockout power. It's volume, punches and bunches, shot selection, has the wrestling, took Derrick down with ease. And then Lewis started to defend some takedowns, which was actually kind of impressive. But Josh Hokit, kind of in a weird spot because now, you beat Blades, you beat Lewis. How does he match up against a Volkov, a Gane, an Aspinall? That's where I think it could get rather tricky for him. A Sergey Pavlovich, a Waldo Cortez. I feel like could even be an interesting fight. So Josh Hokit, this dude gets on the mic, always says some crazy stuff, and I've been saying it since the jump with this guy. Don't let the shenanigans in the WWE like act and annex fool you. This guy is a smart guy. He was not going to go out there and just slug with Derrick Lewis. He's a smart fighter, and it's almost one of those things, if you don't want to lose to the clown, you almost kind of overlook him like, this guy's an idiot. He's not an idiot. You're not a dual sport athlete at a D1 school like Fresno State by being an idiot. So Josh Hokit's a different breed and a very tough matchup for a lot of guys in the heavyweight division with the cardio, the output, and everything that he brings to the table. Balling out type of performance by Josh Hokit. Mauricio Ruffy, Michael Chandler, no one's surprised by this whatsoever, but I'm happy for Mauricio Ruffy, and you got to kind of feel for Mike Chandler, man. A guy that thought he was going to fight McGregor, sat on the sidelines all that time. They give Holloway the McGregor fight, and they say, Chandler, we're going to give you basically a prime version of McGregor. And Mauricio Ruffy, who's training with Volk, the takedown defense looked on point tonight. I feel like he's made so many improvements. If you ran Ruffy versus BSD back, I think Ruffy knocks out BSD, man. I feel like that was just one of those things where Ruffy, he lost the fight. He's made improvements, and I know that there's differences in the grappling and the skills of BSD and Chandler. I get it. Mauricio Ruffy's a guy that's rapidly improving, right? And he finished this with fashion, man. And he knew what he was doing, going out there hands low, long, reminds me of a McGregor-Pineda blend, right? Kind of the way he mixes up the guards and the shot selection. And I've been saying since this dude came on to fight on DWCS, this guy's got the X factor and he's a special talent. I've been saying it since day one and we're seeing it, man. This guy is special, and a lot of people jumped off the train just because he lost to BSD. Got the grappling checked. Right, Mauricio Ruffy's flashy, he's special, his timing, and obviously we all knew that he was most likely going to beat Michael Chandler, right? This was basically a showcase fight for Ruffy, so it's like, man, Chandler getting thrown in here, getting kind of done dirty. They're like, we'll put you on the White House guard, but to get your ass whipped. That's basically what this was. Ruffy's distance management, his timing, right, fighting behind a beautiful thudding jab, which he was a lot more on it tonight with the jab, which is what I was saying coming into this fight. I want to see him fight behind the jab a little bit more, be a little bit busier. It's exactly what he did in this fight. Landing some good shots, landing that spinning wheel kick, was able to rock Michael Chandler around and put him away. Yeah, highlight for Ruffy, styled on him. I guess if you're, for Michael Chandler, at least he didn't get put out cold or get knocked out, real bad. So this to me was just a disastrous matchup for Chandler from the jump. We all expected Ruffy to win, and we got a legit player in the lightweight division, one of the most creative and dynamic strikers in the game, and Mauricio Ruffy. Great performance, man. Bo Nickal, Kyle Daukaus. Now, I don't want to hear all the Kyle Daukaus slander now, right? Because there were so many people that were crapping all over Bo Nickal and were kind of making Kyle Daukaus out to be something that he's not, like he's the next, big thing in this division. I know he had a nice resurgence, right? Was in the UFC. It wasn't great. Goes back to the regional scenes, finishing everybody, puts away Michel Pineda early, puts away GM3 early, and it's all impressive. And I thought that Kyle Daukaus could potentially be a bad matchup for Bo Nickal because Kyle's kind of got that RDR like bird frame, right? And maybe he could implement a similar game, but RDR essentially was a light heavyweight getting down to middleweight. And RDR's ground game much better than Kyle Daukaus, and RDR's clinch game much better than Daukaus. Maybe Daukaus has a little bit better overall boxing, but Daukaus got smashed in this fight, man. Bo Nickal, this was the best he's ever looked. And coming off of the Vieta performance to now this, back-to-back knockouts, you know what that's going to do for Bo's confidence? A guy that had all this, he still has an ego, right? Obviously, from all what he's done as a wrestler, he's an incredible wrestler. I was waiting to see the full skill set of Bo. We saw him pick apart an older, slower Vieta, got the head kick. It was impressive. Then Moicanico goes out there, outstrikes Vieta, and it's like, wait a minute here. Then Daukaus goes out here and gets butchered by Bo Nickal. Shoots a beautiful elite takedown early, beating him up on the ground. Herzog stands him up. Bo takes some deep breaths, and I'm like, what do we have here? Then Bo Nickal lands a massive left hand, little right hook, I think as well, puts him down, puts him away. Great performance by Bo Nickal. There were a lot of people out there. Kyle Daukaus has got this one in the bag, man. Yeah, a lot of people just, I guess, don't like Bo Nickal and thought he was overrated. So Kyle Daukaus is a good fighter. Don't take away from Bo's win by being like Kyle Daukaus just kind of gave up on himself. And people are saying all sorts of crazy stuff. Daukaus' game, Bo Nickal is just a guy who's making a ton of improvements. He's gotten so much better since the RDR loss. And dare I say, I think he could beat RDR in a rematch. And I said coming into this fight, I wanted to see a full-blown MMA skill set from Bo. Shoot takedowns, grapple, land shots on the feet. Bo is getting much better with the striking. He's explosive in and out of range. Bo Nickal might be getting a top 15 opponent in his next fight. For a guy that we know can grapple at a high level, seeing the striking improve and seeing him grapple against a dangerous submission guy. That was good to see from Bo because we see him go in there against these high-level grapplers and just chose to strike with a lot of these guys. So great performance by Bo Nickal. He needed it, man. Last but not least, Diego Lopes versus Steve Garcia. I picked Diego Lopes to win this fight. And I had been saying kind of coming into this fight, man, it was one of those things where Steve Garcia, I was saying, was the dark horse of this division for a long time, but it got closer to fight night, and it was basically like people were disrespecting Diego. It was, man, people are sleeping on Steve Garcia, man, to where it became people are just sleeping on Diego, and I know Diego was still the favorite, but I know Steve is dangerous, and Steve Garcia was fighting rangy, very, very intelligent, had a great first round, was doing well in the second round. Diego Lopes shot for a takedown. Steve was maintaining perfect range and got away from it with ease, and I'm like, that might be a bad sign here. Diego Lopes is getting touched up. Steve Garcia's landing some good shots. But Steve Garcia got pulled into the pocket against Diego. Diego got a lot more aggressive, a lot more on the forward pressure. In the first round, he was a lot more reserved. And I feel like a lot of that was he respected the power of Steve, knew that Steve has a ton of first-round knockouts, can get on guys early, and Lopes is like, let me play this a little bit safe. Let me get a feel for this. And he got cracked with some good shots, where I feel like Diego's like, okay, let me play this a little bit more patient, throw a couple kicks from range. And then he comes out in the second round and was pushing the pace a little bit more. And Diego Lopes, just because he lost to Alexander Volkanovski twice, a top 5 fighter of all time, in my opinion, the greatest featherweight, does not mean that Diego Lopes is some scrub. There were so many people disrespecting Diego in this fight. And you got to see, and I've been saying, Diego Lopes would be the featherweight champion if Volkanovski was not in the division right now. Now that Holloway's moved up, now that Ilia is, at 55, Diego Lopes is the most dangerous fighter in this weight class. And I've been saying that. He reminds me of Oliveira in this weight class, not because of their styles, but because of the dynamic. He can hurt you on the feet with his power, and then he's got a nasty submission game to where if you get rocked, you're getting clubbed and subbed. And if you try to grapple with him, you're going to be, in a spider's web on the ground. So to me, Diego Lopes, I think he can still be champ at some point. This was an amazing performance because Steve Garcia is dangerous, man. I think Steve Garcia beats a lot of the guys in the rankings. Diego Lopes is just a different breed. Knocking out Gene Silva, right? Knocking down Volkanovski, having a couple moments here and there. But a lot of that is, if you bring the fight to Diego, he has great counter striking. His hands, that right hook around the guard, the left hook, the uppercuts in close. And that left hook was what sat Garcia down and clipped him and was able to hurt him and get him out of there. And if you get rocked by Diego Lopes, you're either getting TKO'd or he's going to hop on a submission and get you out of there. So Garcia was looking good until he wasn't, when Lopes pulled him into his style of fight, man. Diego Lopes, so fun to watch, one of my favorites in the UFC. Garcia will be back. He's a dog, man. It was a big step up for him here. Put some respect on the name of Diego Lopes. I feel like a lot of people forgot just how good this guy is. I think Diego beats dang near everybody in the featherweight division outside of, obviously, Volkanovski. And it's one of those things. Volk on the back foot, scooting around, that's where Lopes struggles, where he's got to come to you, cut the cage off. But if you come to him, Diego Lopes can put anybody away, man. Maybe we see him potentially move up to lightweight at some point. Diego Lopes, great company, man. Weighed in for this fight, weighed in as the backup for the main event, beat Steve Garcia, had that aura moment on top of the cage right at the White House, was like, I'll come back and fight in the main event if you need. This is a guy that weighs in as a backup, takes short notice. Diego Lopes does it all, man. You call Diego Lopes, he's going to be ready to go. I love him training over at OSU. Diego Lopes, one of my favorites in the game, man. Great performance, generational performance for Diego Lopes. So that's my recap for the card. Hope you guys enjoyed this, man. I think I covered just about everything. Usually I get done these and I'm like, man, there was something I forgot. So I feel like I covered it all, man. This was crazy. This was a generational card, felt like a once-in-a-lifetime thing at the White House, seeing it all ultimately unfold. It was a late night, but on a Sunday night, but man, it was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Every single fight ends in stoppages, right? And all the great strikers on this card fighting behind the jabs, setting guys up. This was a ton of fun to watch. A lot of the fights went the way I feel like a lot of us thought it would. But the main event, Justin Gaethje doing what he did to Ilia Topuria, unbelievable performance by Justin Gaethje. But if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments about this card, about Gaethje's performance, and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. I'll see you next time.